So, a few days ago, I made a post asking you guys if you'd be interested in seeing some Sonic the Hedgehog themed custom cards for Magic and Yu-Gi-Oh! I kinda just thought this would be a fun little side project to do that wouldn't take that much time in the grand scheme of things. However, apparently I was blessed with the vision of Apollo because like 5 days after I made that post, a actual Magic the Gathering Sonic crossover secret layer got announced. Actually, it's not even a secret layer, it's an entire secret layer super drop, which is a set of multiple secret layers at once. If you don't know because you're not a Magic player, a secret layer is basically a bundle of cards sold directly from Wizards of the Coast to players through the mail. Honestly, I think they're in pretty wildly varying quality, but they're some of the weirdest and most unique cards we get in Magic, so they're always at least fun to see. Anyway, since I'm both a huge Sonic fan and still a Magic the Gathering player, I figured I'd go ahead and go over these secret layers and talk about them with you guys. The way I'll be talking about it in this video will be made for someone who knows about the Sonic franchise, but maybe doesn't know as much about Magic the Gathering. Mostly because I figure that's what most of my audience is going to be. With the preamble out of the way, let's just go ahead and look at some cardboard. Starting with the legendary creatures, we have Sonic the Hedgehog illustrated by Evan Stanley. I want to say really quick, I'm so happy that they got some of the artists for IDW to actually work on these cards. Their art is as amazing as always, and I really am excited to have these physical cards in front of me at some point. The Magic artists do a great job too, but there's something just so special about the IDW artists and how they draw these characters. So, Sonic the Hedgehog is a legendary creature, Hedgehog Warrior. Hedgehog is a new creature type, by the way. We have not seen it up to this point in Magic. It is a 2/4, so 2 power, 4 toughness, and it has a mana cost of 1 blue, 1 red, and 1 white. Now, the color identity is something I'll be focusing on a little bit in this video because I have a lot of thoughts. I very much like Sonic being red and white. I think that makes a lot of sense for his character. Red, if you don't know, is associated with chaos, emotion, passion, just like feeling in general. It's very much the freedom color, so it fits Sonic really well. However, that freedom isn't necessarily positive or negative. White, on the other hand, is a color associated with justice or a strict moral code. Whether that moral code is actually upstanding or not is something they play with a little bit, but combining red and white gets you somebody who is very passionate about justice, and it makes a lot of sense for someone with a code of freedom like Sonic has. The color that I'm not a fan of here is blue. Blue is pretty much exclusively associated with like knowledge and curiosity and technology. It is the cold, unfeeling, logical color, the Rick color from Rick and Morty, basically. And it doesn't really fit Sonic at all. I think the only reason he's blue is because he is physically blue, which I'm not really a fan of. Still, that's only one color on his entire 3-color identity, and this means you can like play Tails in a Sonic the Hedgehog commander deck, which is cool, so I'm not that upset about it. Like with most secret layers, I do imagine these cards are mostly being designed for the commander format, since that's one of the few places you can actually play them. Sonic has haste, which allows him to attack immediately. Haste is obviously associated with fast characters a lot in Magic, so this makes total sense. He has the ability Gotta Go Fast. Whenever Sonic the Hedgehog attacks, you put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control with Flash or Haste. Again, going on the being fast theme here, we haven't really seen Flash and Haste bundled together as an archetype before, but it kind of makes sense for what they're going for with Sonic, so I am kind of here for it. Finally, he has the ability where whenever a creature you control with Flash or Haste is dealt damage, you create a tapped treasure token. A treasure token, by the way, is an artifact that you can tap and sacrifice to add 1 mana of any color, so it's basically just more mana to cast your spells with. This is a really powerful ability, and it's very cute. I think the idea here, especially because, as we'll see, the treasure token included with this secret layer is a ring. Every time one of your creatures is dealt damage, you make them drop their rings like you did in the old games. And honestly, a lot of the new games too, they're a little more hit or miss with it nowadays, but that's still a very common mechanic in Sonic games, and it's really well adapted to Magic here. Overall, I'm a really big fan of Sonic's card here. It looks great, the abilities are powerful and really unique. You are pushed into building the deck in a very unique direction, and I think it'll be a lot of fun to play with. Next up is Miles Tails Prower, illustrated by John Thacker, a Magic the Gathering artist. I say I'm a Magic artist, I think they're all freelance technically, but if you start getting jobs with Wizards, they'll probably hire you again pretty soon. I really love this art. I think it did a great job. The art is really on model, but it has like this painterly expressionist sort of vibe to it. Maybe I'm using those words wrong, but it seems very unique in its art style while still being like really on model and faithful to the game. So I think they did a great job. Anyway, Miles is a legendary Fox Artificer. It's a 3/1 with a mana cost of 1, a white, and a blue. As we just talked about, white is associated with peace, justice, and order. Blue is associated with like knowledge, curiosity, and technology. So this makes a lot of sense for Miles. He has Flash, which means you can cast him at any time you can cast an instant. Also has Flying, which means that he can't be blocked except by creatures with Flying or Reach. Makes tons of sense. He literally flies. He also has the ability where whenever a vehicle you control enters, you draw a card if it has Flying. Otherwise, you put a Flying counter on it. Vehicles, for anyone who doesn't know, are artifact spells that can become creatures if they're crewed. To crew them, you have to tap creatures with total power equal to the crew number on an artifact. Basically, vehicles are anything you could drive, including like mechas, which makes perfect sense considering Miles is known for piloting mechas, at least sometimes. Onto the card design here, I don't have a lot of complaints. This is a very unique ability. It's a powerful ability. It's not necessarily the most interesting to build around. You kind of just shove in as many vehicles as you can that either want to have Flying or already have Flying to generate value. Kind of just bind everything with this specification and put into a deck together if you want to put Miles into your deck. But it's unique, it's different, and I'm not going to complain about it. And the art is amazing, so I'm going to be pretty happy to have this in my collection if I can get a hold of it. Next up, we have Amy Rose with art by Evan Stanley again. Once again, it looks amazing. Amy here is a legendary hedgehog warrior with a mana cost of 2, a red, and a white. This, once again, makes sense. We already talked about red and white when we went over Sonic. I'm realizing now that all of Sonic's friends can actually fit into a deck with Sonic as the commander. There's a rule in Commander that your entire deck has to only include colors of the colors of your commander. And since Sonic is red, blue, and white, Tails, Amy, and Knuckles, spoilers, can all fit into that deck. So that's probably part of the decision making here. I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of that, but it is cute enough that I'll probably excuse it. Besides, these color identities work well enough for each of the individual characters. Red and white, perfect for Amy. It's all about passion and emotion. Red is the emotion color. It's very heavily associated with both love and hate. Obviously, Amy dips a bit more into the love side, but you know, she can get pretty angry sometimes, and that is a part of Red's color identity, so I think her being red makes perfect sense. White also fits, you know, all about caring about other people, all about order and justice and whatnot. That fits Amy too. Amy is a 3/3 with haste. Whenever Amy Rose attacks, you attach up to one target equipment to her. Then up to one other target attacking creature gets +X/+0 until end of turn, where X is Amy Rose's power. Now, I have a couple of mixed feelings on Amy's card here. On one hand, we get a lot of Boros equipment commanders. I think we have like 20 of them at this point. It's kind of insane just how many of this exact type of card they print. But it does fit Amy really well. You know, she's associated with her hammer, and I really like the detail that she uses her power to increase the power of your other creatures. She like uplifts others. That's something that Amy does a lot in the games. Pretty cool to see that represented here while also showing just how effective she herself can be in battle. I think this card, like most of the others, does a pretty good job capturing who Amy is as a character. Next up, we have Knuckles the Echidna. This is a 2/4 legendary Echidna warrior with a mana cost of 2 double red. Knuckles being exclusively red isn't something I love. It makes sense for him. He's hot-headed, he's passionate. He would be at least partially red, but I really think he should be red-green. Green is a color associated with nature. It's also associated with things like instinct and in some ways like ties to the past and destiny. Those are things that I think Knuckles really is wrapped up in as a character with his whole like dedication to the Master Emerald and whatnot. I would have very much liked to see a Gruul Knuckles, but mono red works fine. Knuckles has double strike, trample, and haste. Trample means that if he deals more damage than a creature's toughness in combat, the rest of the damage will go face. So, for example, since he's a 2/4, if he's blocked by a 1/1 creature, he'll deal 1 damage to the 1/1 and 1 damage to the opponent. He also has double strike, meaning he deals first strike damage and normal combat damage. So when he fights a creature, he will deal 2 damage first, and then during normal combat damage, he will both take the damage from the opponent and deal 2 extra damage to them. He has the ability where whenever one or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, you create a treasure token. Now, a few interesting things about this ability. This doesn't mean that if you have like 20 creatures and they all deal damage to a player, like a singular player all at once, you'll only get one treasure token there because that is one instance of multiple creatures dealing damage, so it will only trigger one time. However, this does synergize really well with his double strike because even if he hits the same player twice, that is two separate instances of a creature dealing damage. It happens at two separate times, so you will get two treasures for it. Finally, we have the Treasure Hunter ability. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you control 30 or more artifacts, you win the game. This is a fun alternate win condition that probably won't come up that often. You can spam the board with artifacts pretty easily, but 30 is a lot. It is a very cute nod to Knuckles' identity as a treasure hunter in the Sonic Adventure games though, so I'm pretty glad to see it on the card. The only complaint I have with this card is that the art isn't as good as the others. Tyler Walpole does do a good job here, especially with the background. I think the background looks absolutely beautiful here. However, Knuckles himself just looks a little flat by comparison. He looks like he doesn't quite fit in with how detailed the background is. It's a little disappointing, but I think the art overall still does look really good. Ultimately, pretty happy with how this card came out, and I think Knuckles fans will also enjoy it. Next up, we have Shadow the Hedgehog. This is a 4/2 legendary Hedgehog Mercenary. That's an old creature type we haven't seen in a while, for double black, double red. Black as a color is associated with pragmatism and self-interest mostly, as well as sort of just self-reflection in general. It's a very self-focused color. However, that doesn't necessarily mean being selfish, and I think considering how introspective most of Shadow's stories are, him being black-red makes a lot of sense. Obviously, he is literally black and red, so it makes a lot of sense there too, but I think this color combination just does work for Shadow's personality, so I'm not mad that they kind of leaned into the whole physical colors thing here. He also has haste, and whenever Shadow the Hedgehog or another creature you control with flash or haste dies, you draw a card. Now, flavorfully, I don't love this line of text, but mechanically it works really well. It makes this entire flash haste package a lot more powerful and versatile, so I understand that maybe they had to make a sacrifice on flavor here in order to make the mechanics more interesting and fun to play with. However, the final ability is both amazing mechanically and flavorfully. Shadow has Chaos Control, which means that each spell you cast has Split Second, if mana from an artifact source was spent to cast it. Split Second means that as long as it's on the stack, players can't cast spells or activate abilities that aren't mana abilities. This basically means that what you're doing literally cannot be responded to at all. This makes a lot of sense flavorfully as far as Chaos Control goes. He's skipping over time, and since he's drawing on mana from artifacts here, you can sort of interpret that as him using mana from like a Chaos Emerald to cast these spells. This ability is also like super strong. Split Second is not something they print very often on cards because it's fucking broken. Being able to give any spell in the game Split Second is kind of crazy. I'm really interested to see just how strong this card ends up actually being. Also, the art is done by Tracy Yardley yet again, and it's still amazing. Next up, we have Dr. Eggman. This is a 3/6 legendary human scientist for 2 1 blue, 1 black, and 1 red. The art here is done by Nathalie Fordrain, an IDW Sonic cover artist, and it looks so good. Like, this might be the best art in the set so far. It's that good. Grixis as Eggman's color identity makes perfect sense. This is literally what I would choose if you asked me what colors I would associate Eggman with. You have blue for knowledge and curiosity, red for passion, which captures Eggman's eccentricities, and black to show his self-interest perfectly. As for abilities, Eggman has flying, which makes sense as he's usually in his Eggmobile. He also has the ability where at the beginning of your instep, you draw a card. Then each opponent faces a villainous choice. That player discards a card, or you may put a construct, robot, or vehicle card from your hand onto the battlefield. Now, flavorfully, I really like this card. I think it captures Eggman's personality really well. However, I feel like this might be one of the weaker cards we've seen in this set so far. The villainous choice that it makes your opponent's face is just really lopsided. Like, they're just going to discard a card every time. If they're empty-handed, I'm pretty sure they can choose to discard a card and just get rid of this downside entirely. So you'll almost never be able to actually cheat out any of your robots. Then again, Magic players are famously non-optimal, so you might be able to make this work more often due to your opponents just getting greedy and wanting to keep all the cards in their hand. Next up, we have Super State. This is a legendary enchantment aura with a mana cost of 7. This is basically something you put on a creature to make it better. It has enchant creature you control. Enchanted creature has base power and toughness 9/9, and it has flying, first strike, trample, and haste. Whenever enchanted creature deals combat damage to an opponent, it deals that much damage to each other opponent. Now, this is really cool. The art is by Tracy Yardley again, by the way. Always great art. I feel like I don't need to keep repeating that for every card at this point. The only nitpick I have with this card is that it doesn't give the creature its own protection of any kind. Super states are most associated with their ability to make whoever is in them completely invulnerable to all forms of damage. Like, sure, they let you fly, they make you faster and stronger and all that, but I think the main thing that people remember super states for is that you can just tank anything while you're in one. Bit of a miss to not have that on the card here, but maybe they didn't want to make it too powerful, and considering all the other stuff this does, that kind of makes sense. The final ability is really good in Commander, and playing 7 mana to turn anything into a 9/9 flying, first strike, trample, haste creature is extremely powerful, so I kind of understand. Those are all the cards in the Sonic Friends and Foes Secret Lair, and I think this is probably going to be the premier one that people are buying. It has all the unique cards, all the legends, the art is amazing, the cards are really fun to build around. I'm going to be buying this one if at all possible. However, we do have 2 more Secret Lairs to go through. These ones are reskins of existing Magic cards, and they're a little bit less interesting, but they're still pretty cool. First up, we have the Sonic Chasing Adventure Secret Lair, and the first card in it, Generous Gift. This is an instant that destroys target permanent, and as control makes a 3/3 green elephant creature token for 2 and 1 white. On the art by Tracy Yardley, once again, we see an elephant escaping from one of the little pods from the classic Sonic games. Very cute, good reference. This is a pretty strong card. Seeing it reprinted again is pretty good. Next up, we have Open the Armory, art by Mike Burns. This is another Magic artist, and as you can see, the art here is top-notch, really captures the Sonic aesthetic perfectly. This card has the effect where you search your library for an Aura equipment card, reveal it, and put it into your hand, and it costs 1 and 1 white. This one is leaning into Amy. As you can see, each of these cards focuses on one of the different characters, and Amy is the Aura and equipment commander in this set, so it kind of makes sense to give her a card that supports that. I am a little disappointed because we get this card reprinted all the time, man. I kind of wish we got something a little more unique to Amy as a character. This isn't even a Sonic related complaint. This is just a Magic the Player related complaint. Like, can we get a Secret Lair that doesn't have one of these super generic tutors or whatever that they keep reprinting? Like, I don't know. I mean, it's a good card. You'll play it, so I can't complain that much. Next up, we have Fabricate featuring Tails. This is art by Tracy Yardley once again, so it looks amazing. This card costs 2 and a blue. It's a sorcery. It lets you search your library for an artifact, reveal it, put it into your hand, and then shuffle. All vehicles are artifacts, so this does synergize with what the Tails legendary creature is doing. I think we maybe could have gone like Whir of Invention in this slot instead of Fabricate. Fabricate gets printed all the time, but also, the card is pretty expensive still, so I can understand why they're reprinting it again. Next up, we have Deadly Dispute featuring Shadow the Hedgehog grabbing a Chaos Emerald, art by Evan Stanley. It looks amazing. This is an instant for 1 and a black. As an additional cost to cast this spell, you have to sacrifice an artifact or a creature, then you draw 2 cards and create a treasure token. This is a weird one. I think flavorfully this doesn't really fit Shadow at all. I have no idea which Deadly Dispute this is supposed to be. It doesn't look like it's aboard the Ark or anything. However, mechanically, this is exactly the kind of card you would want to play in the Shadow Commander deck. It lets you sacrifice stuff, which works with Shadow's first ability, and it creates a treasure token, which you can use with its second ability to Chaos Control something and give it split second. I think they reprinted this card because they knew that basically every Shadow the Hedgehog commander deck would include this card anyway, so they might as well give it a special art. So yeah, bit of a flavor fail, but it works so well with what the rest of the Secret Lair super drop is doing that I can excuse it. I'm gonna have a bit more harsh criticism when it comes to the next card. This is Unexpected Windfall. It is an instant for 2 and 2 red. Art by Nathalie Fordrain, and it looks amazing, of course. This card has the effect where as an additional cost to cast a spell, you have to discard a card, but you get to draw 2 cards and create 2 treasure tokens. Now, I really don't understand why this was the choice for the Knuckles instant or sorcery card. As far as like flavor goes, this doesn't really fit Knuckles at all. The quote that they have for him is, I think, him in Frontiers, or no, it's in the intro movie to Frontiers when he's like going around his island, he gets teleported there. He's talking about how he's been stuck here forever. And like, hey, if he was Gruul, you could have made this like Recollect or something, and that would have made a lot of sense. Whatever, I'm not going to be salty about that. I just don't see what Unexpected Windfall as a card has to do with Knuckles flavorfully, either with what he's saying or what he's doing in the art here. Unexpected Windfall is about the future. It's about throwing away the now to look forward. And what Knuckles is doing is focusing on the past. So I really don't understand what they're doing. However, I also don't think this is necessarily a shoo-in for a Knuckles commander deck. Like, it's a good card, sure, but it doesn't work absolutely perfectly with all of his abilities or anything. I feel like Knuckles commander decks are going to play more artifact focused or maybe more battle focused, trying to make Knuckles really big and get extra combat so you can get even more treasure tokens to keep casting more extra turn spells or whatever. Not extra turn spells, extra combat spells. You know what I mean. Feels like a very weird inclusion overall, and honestly the card isn't even that expensive, so I don't get it. Finally, because we're getting a commander-focused Secret Lair drop, we of course have to get the Sonic the Hedgehog Soul Ring, art by Evan Stanley, and it looks fucking great. Now, a part of me was a little upset that it wasn't a ring from Sonic here as the Soul Ring, but the treasure token included in the Secret Lair and the one that you're going to be using for quite a few different cards is a ring from Sonic, so I understand why they went with something different here. But like, just look at the art. This is an artifact that you can pay 1 mana for, and it taps for 2 mana. It's broken as hell. It should probably be banned, but I mean, they keep printing amazing versions of it like this, so it's probably going to stick around. Those are all the cards in the Chasing Adventure Secret Lair, and I think it's probably my second favorite behind the Friends and Foes Secret Lair. I think the other one may have it beat out for value just because of one specific card that they included that is incredibly expensive currently, but I prefer these cards and their arts a lot to the final one. Last up, we have Sonic Turbo Gear. This is the third and final Secret Lair in this little super drop. We'll start with Tornado Sonic's Biplane, which is the Weatherlight. This is a legendary vehicle. It has flying, and whenever the tornado deals combat damage to a player, look at the top 5 cards of your library. You can reveal a historic card from among them and put it into your hand, put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. A historic card, for anyone who doesn't know, is, I believe, a saga, an artifact, or a legendary creature. Or maybe just a legendary card. I know it's a legendary creature at least. This means that the tornado can actually grab basically any one of Sonic's friends, including himself. It also requires a crew of 3, which means that Tails can crew it immediately. Sonic can after 1 attack, he only has 2 power. Knuckles can't crew it, Amy can, and Shadow and Eggman can. This card isn't particularly expensive, but, you know, great art here from Tracy Yardley once again, and it fits so well, like, flavorfully. I love that Tails can crew it and everything. It works super well in his deck. This is probably something that people are going to be slotting into their Tails decks a lot early on. Super good choice for this Secret Lair, even if it's not by itself the most powerful or interesting card. Next up, we have the Power Sneakers, which are replacing Lightning Greaves. This is an artifact equipment for 2 mana, has a equip of 0, so it's free, and equipped creature has haste and shroud. Haste is obviously you get to attack immediately, but shroud means it can't be targeted by anyone, including yourself. This is a card that needs to be reprinted all the time because it's so popular in Commander, but it also just isn't that cool. Like, I don't know if we really needed Sonic's shoes as a Magic card, you know? But don't get too crazy about Sonic's shoes, because next up we have Shadow's shoes. Air shoes. These are equipment that cost 2 mana to play and 1 mana to equip. They give the equipped creature hexproof and haste, and they are a reskin of Swiftfoot boots. These are generally worse than the power shoes, but, you know, they are also still a popular Commander card. Again, not super happy to see 2 cards out of the Secret Lair being shoes of various characters. Like, I mean, I get that Sonic shoes are, like, kind of iconic, and definitely Shadow's air shoes are pretty iconic, but, like, we had to have cooler stuff we could have done for this, right? Just feels like a bit of a letdown. Next up, we have Knuckles Gloves. These are a legendary artifact equipment. It is a reskin of the Reaver Cleaver. It costs 2 and 1 red mana to cast, and it has an equip cost of 3. Equipped creature gets +1/+1 and has trample, and whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player or planeswalker, create that many treasure tokens. So yeah, this is mostly here because it works really, really well with Knuckles as your commander. You put it on him, he now is a 3/5 with double strike and trample that will make treasure tokens equal to the amount of damage he deals. That's going to make getting up to 30 artifacts for the final win the game ability a lot easier. Not super interesting. Art by Jack Teagle here. The art looks pretty good. It looks very like early comic book in a way, if that makes sense. It's cute art and I do appreciate it. I'm not super like psyched to have Knuckles gloves as a card in the game, but it works so well with what the Knuckles card is doing that I can excuse it once again. Next up, we have the Pico Pico Hammer. This is a reskin of Hammer of Nazan. It's a legendary artifact equipment for 4 mana, has an equip cost of 4, but whenever it or another equipment you control enters, you may attach that equipment to target creature you control. It also gives the equipped creature +2/+0 and indestructible. Now, I have a feeling that this card is here mostly because it's criminally underprinted. It's like a $15 card for like no reason because it was only in like I think a pre-constructed deck and it's gotten like one reprint since then. Seeing more versions of this out in the wild is always great, and it does work really well with the Amy Commander cards, so absolutely a great choice for the Secret Lair. Honestly, the Pico Pico Hammer is probably the main draw of this Secret Lair, which is kind of funny when you say it out loud. Finally, we have the Egg Hammer, a reskin of Mirror Battlesphere. This is a 4/7 Mirror Artifact construct. It costs 7 to cast, and when this creature enters, you create 4 1/1 colorless Mirror Artifact creature tokens. For the record, we did get some Egg Pawn Mirror Artifact creature tokens in this Secret Lair, so you will have an appropriate token to use with this version of it. Whenever it attacks, you can tap up to X untapped mirror you control. If you do, it gets +X/+0 until end of turn, and it deals X damage to the player or planeswalker it is attacking. This is a classic big dumb idiot to slam in Commander. It's not worth a ton, but it's a card you'll probably play in the Eggman deck, and it's cool art to have, so I can definitely see why they printed it. The art is done by Sylvain Sorel. I'm having a bit of a difficult time knowing how to pronounce that. Sorry if I said it wrong. It looks great. The art is amazing. The art on all these cards is just so good. They really go above and beyond for the Secret Lairs. But yeah, that's the Turbo Gear Secret Lair. Outside of like Pico Pico and the Tornado, I really don't want any of the cards in this set in particular. I may get it just to have a full set of the entire Secret Lair, and I mean, if you're going to build a Knuckles deck, you probably want Knuckles gloves, and the Pico Pico Hammer goes really well with Amy and all that, so I could definitely see it being worth picking this up if you want to build one of the Sonic Commander decks. So that's all of the cards in the Sonic Super Drop for Secret Lair. I think they did a great job. The art is amazing. The card selection is mostly on point. I think Unexpected Windfall and the shoes are the only cards that I don't like being in this. Even then, I can understand at some level why they reprinted them because these are pretty worthwhile cards to have in a collection, so I can't be too mad. This was a pretty impromptu video, as you can probably tell. I kind of just sat down and started recording, and God, my fucking voice hurts. I think I might have been yapping too much. Anyway, I am really excited for the Secret Lair. I really hope that Wizards has fixed the Secret Lair ordering system by the time it comes out. They won't. It's going to be scalped to hell, unfortunately. Card games are having a really big problem with that recently, and it's a difficult one to solve, honestly. I know people are mad about it, and they have a right to be somewhat mad about it, but, like, there's only so much Wizards and the Pokemon Company can do to stop scalpers, unfortunately. Wizards should and absolutely could fix the ordering system for Secret Lairs. That's definitely something within their power, but the actual scalpers themselves are a different issue that are pretty difficult to actually fix. Especially since secondary markets are so normalized for trading card games. So like, we can't just say, oh, don't buy from scalpers. Like, how you can't tell the difference between a scalper and someone who bought a card reasonably, like who bought it for themselves and just doesn't want it anymore. So yeah, there's a lot of things around the periphery of this Secret Lair itself that are kind of sucky, but this Secret Lair I think is great. I really, really, really hope I can actually get my hands on these cards. Probably gonna buy it. You know, I thought I was out of Magic, but they're just sucking me back in. I'm never gonna escape it. Alright, might as well go ahead and shout out all my members once again. Big thanks to Elric111, Agent B7, Bokabara, Sonic Storm, Mega Sonic Bros, Joseph Florian, Fate Testarossa, GB484, and Divin Higginbotham. If you want early access to any of my content, you can become a member, and also it helps support the channel a ton. I'll see you guys next time, and I promise the issue 79 review is on its way. I'm working on it right now. Okay, bye.